Okay, we will now reconvene to open session at 7:01 p.m. Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Pierce, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Hand on your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 6, roll call. Roll call will reflect that all board members and cabinet are present except for Ms. Fisher. And moving on to item 6.1, Horizon School Student Board Member Oath of Office, Dr. May Vollmer.
Yes, thank you very much. We are very excited to have our newest student board member with us tonight, Ashley Lopez from Horizon. I'm just going to share a little bit about her before we do the oath of office. She's actually been a Desert Sands student since elementary school and has been at Horizon for 4 years now and appreciates the opportunity to be flexible and get to do more outside of school, as well as participating in the construction pathway at Amistad High School, which is very exciting, one of our newest pathways. She loves listening to music and doing puzzles. She does service for her church during the week and on weekends, and also is in a program for independent living. And I think one of the neatest things I read on your questionnaire here was that she and her brothers are the first generation in her family to graduate from high school and the first generation to enter college. And so being a first-generation college student in my family as well, I understand the dedication and the perseverance that takes. So congratulations to you and your brothers for just outstanding work in school and your perseverance. Very proud of you. So if you'd like to join me out front, we'll do the oath.
Moving on to item 7, approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of October 25th, 2022?
So moved, Tricia Pierce.
Is there a second?
Second, Linda Porras.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of October 25th, 2022. Is there any discussion? No, this is the minutes. Hearing none, calls for the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? This motion carries. Moving on to item 8, Board of Meeting Addenda. Superintendent Dr. May Vollmer, do you have any addenda to the agenda?
Yes, I do. We'll be pulling item 17.3, General Functions Business Services, from the agenda this evening.
Point 3.
17.3.
you. Approval of agenda. We will be taking action on cabinet and superintendent contracts later in the meeting, and I have a readout prior to those agenda items being voted on. Oral statement. California Government Code Section 54953C3 requires an oral summary of a recommendation for a final action on the salaries, salary schedules, and compensation to be paid in the form of fringe benefits to be paid to a local agency executive. In addition, Government Code Section 53262 mandates that employment contracts for local agency executives be ratified in open session. In order to comply with these requirements, we will be providing an oral summary in connection with agenda items 28.2 and 29.2. Agenda items 28.2 and 29.2 recommend amending the compensation agreements for certificated assistant superintendent, and the Assistant Superintendent of Business Services salary schedule. The amendments provide a 7.295% salary increase effective July 1st, 2022, restate longevity provisions to make them more clear, and increase a doctoral stipend to $3,000 annually. Agenda items 28.2 and 29.2 recommend approval of individual amendments to the employment agreements for the positions of superintendent, assistant superintendent business services, assistant superintendent student support services, assistant superintendent personnel services, and assistant superintendent educational services. All of these amendments provide a 7.295% salary increase effective July 1st, 2022, a one-time $2,500 stipend payable the next payroll period, and a clarification of longevity language set forth in the applicable salary schedule. The amendment to the employment agreement for the Assistant Superintendent of Business Services also extends a contract through June 30th, 2023, and provides the district will pay membership fees in 2 professional organizations. The amendment to the employment agreements for the Superintendent, the Assistant Sup of Educational Services, and the Assistant Sup of Personnel Services also specify that the annual doctoral stipend has increased to $3,000. Okay. The Assistant Superintendent of Business Services also extends a contract through June 30th, 2025. There was a typo there, not 2023. Is there a motion to approve the agenda of the regular meeting of November 15, 2022? Is there a second?
Second, Tricia Pierce.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the agenda of the regular meeting of November 15, 2022. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, calls for the question. Preferential vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? This motion carries with 1 preferential vote. Moving on to item 10, Community Staff Student Recognition. Superintendent Dr. May Vollmer.
Yes, I'd like to invite Mary Perry, Public Information Officer, up to the podium, and she'll be sharing some recognition this evening.
Good evening. As always, thank you so much for inviting me to take part in the recognition of our students, our staff, our schools. So I'd like to begin with one that the Desert Sun has awarded 2 of our schools. So the Desert Sun recently invited their readers to vote for what they called the best of the desert. And among the categories were the best public school in the desert. And 3 were selected out of all those nominated by the number of votes. And 2 of them belong to us. So special congratulations to La Quinta High School. I think Mary is here. Mary and Rudy, please, if you'd like to stand. And Washington Charter, I think Alan Lehman's right down there. So they'll be recognized at a gala on Thursday, December 8th at the JW Marriott in Palm Desert, but we wanted to be the first ones to congratulate them. So if you wouldn't mind giving those 2 schools another round of applause. So another congratulations we have is to a whole bunch of Desert Sand schools that have been named Common Sense schools. In making the announcement, the organization noted that these schools are dedicated to teaching young people how to be safe, responsible digital citizens, and that it inspires them. These schools subscribe to the common sense philosophy that digital citizenship skills have become essential for students in the 21st century, especially this school year. And that's why the organization, Common Sense Schools, they're committed to teaching our students how to be digital learners, leaders, and citizens. We have 14 schools to congratulate. So if you could please hold your applause until I've named all the schools. But if there's a representative from the school, if you would please stand when I call your school name. Indio High School. Principal Lawson sent his regrets, but needless to say is very excited. Palm Desert High School, I think Principal Sarit Saig is here. Okay, that's not holding the applause. Just saying. Okay, La Quinta High School, Mary Velasco. And I'd like to invite Dr. Rudy Wilson to stand as well because he was the principal when this happened, right? So there you go. Colonel Mitchell Page Middle School, Carrie Sperber, principal, and her instructional coach, Robin Markson. Indio Middle School is Marcy Herrera, who sends her apologies. She's rather ill. John Glenn Middle School, I know that Todd Biggert, principal, sent his regrets as well. Palm Desert Charter Middle School, Debbie Dolan, principal. Amelia Earhart Elementary School and Principal Ann Morales also sent her regrets. Herbert Hoover Elementary School, Principal Karen Schibler, and her instructional coach, Eve Whaler. John F. Kennedy Elementary School, Jessica Morrow. Lyndon B. Johnson Elementary School, Principal Brad Fisher did send his apologies. James Madison Elementary School, Principal Amy Zink. Ronald Reagan Elementary School, Principal Mark Baldwin has the same bug that I have, so he won't be here tonight. And finally, Martin Van Buren Elementary School and Principal Melissa Pisano sent her regrets. So if I could have them all stand, and we could give them a round of applause. Next, joining me at the podium is Valley Sanitary District Board President Scott Sear. Scott, I know you're here. And Scott is going to recognize a group of students who named the mascot last year in a contest. And he's presenting a $500 check to the teacher to use for classroom supplies. And Blue, there's Blue, the Valley Sanitary District's mascot, is particularly happy with his new name. Yes, he is. So congratulations to Jennifer Withrose. Her 2021-2022 fourth grade class at Benjamin Franklin Elementary School named Blue. All right, I'm going to try and do double duty here and take a photo. We have a lot of students. Bring them up, Jen. Bring them up.
Hold on, you get.
Oh, thanks.
Nice.
Oh, that's a big help. Thank you. All right, that's perfect. All right.
Oh, that's awesome.
Scott or Jennifer, would you like to say a few words?
Hello, my name is Scott Sear, board president with Valley Sanitary District, and Deborah Canero, my vice president. The one thing we wanted to do is really, at Valley Sanitary District, we've been out here since 1925. So we've been serving Indio for the longest time. A lot of people refer to us as the best kept secret, which when I came on board was a horrible saying because the community doesn't know about us. So what we wanted to do was start reaching out and investing back in our community. And one thing is educating the kids. Since we're a sanitary district, we don't get any bills. You guys will never hear of us, but you use us every day if you live in Indio, parts of Coachella, and parts of La Quinta. So how can we get our message out there? And that's by educating the kids. That's why what we use is working with programs to where we have solid partnerships with now different school districts, right here, Desert Sands, different teachers, organizations, field trips to our schools every month, and also partnerships with the colleges, College of the Desert. It's really time for organizations and like Valley Sanitary District to lead the way to invest right back in our communities and do what needs to be done in educating the children, because we found out if we want to get the message about what not to flush, what not to do, it's not directing with the parents, because you guys are stuck in your ways. It's getting the kids, because the kids are going to call you out. The kids are going to tell you, you cannot flush this, you cannot do that. So we're going to invest in the kids. You're going to see a lot more from our district, that we have this dedication to do what we need to invest back in our community, and it starts with the children. So we want to invite you guys out to the district for tours. We have a lab, we have everything. Our district is completely open to you, any school, any class. If you guys want to come down and help us, with our little project we're doing, we would love. So this is the start of many different things and many ways how we're reaching back in our community. So I want to thank you guys. Thank the kids for naming Blue, a very, very good name for the mascot. So we're going to go with that. And thank you guys so much. And would you like to say anything?
No, you said it all.
Thank you. And
I would like to point out for those of you who say, I know this lady. Yeah, she has retired from the district after how many years of service, Deb? After 42 years of service. And obviously, she continues to work on behalf of students. So Debbie was actually, I first remembered meeting her at Indio High School, where she was Principal Lawson's right hand, left hand, right foot lady. And then she served as CSEA president. So thanks, Deb.
Thank you.
Oh, and one last thing, if I can. Kids, you're going to love this, okay? So we came up with a new slogan, all right? You guys got to remember this one. At Valley Sanitary District, your number 2 is our number 1. Okay?
Okay, that was quite the way to end that one. Yeah.
That was terrible.
So the recognitions for Desert Sands students just keep on coming. And the Coachella Valley Repertory Writing Competition was recently held, and we are so proud to have winners from 4 schools. And I know that Tim Dunn, the publicist for CV Rep, doesn't really want to be recognized, but Tim, I am going to ask you at least to stand. So a copy of the stories and the poems and the song lyrics, everything that the students wrote, was provided to the board in last week's Friday letter. So hopefully you've had a chance to read those. So I'm going to try and get all these names correct. I'm not sure if everyone's here, but let me say all their names and then we can go ahead and applaud. And so students, if I call your name, please come up and stand in front, okay? So first of all, we have Gianni Liverani from Palm Desert Charter Middle School. There she is. And she won 2nd place for her poem, The Lock in Endless Swirl. Next we have Ifra Lioub, is that correct? Ifra Ayub, thank you, sweetheart. If you want to come up. And Ifra is from Palm Desert High School, and she won 1st place for an informative essay titled Genocides Are Not Just of the Past. Then we have Kira Etzminger. Is it Kira? Is that what you prefer? Is Kira here? No. Okay. She's from Shadow Hills High School, and she took home 2nd place for the short story Hunter Hunted. Then we have, please. Then we have Kayla Martin, also of Palm Desert High School. And she wrote what is considered a work of prose titled August. Then we have Lauren Cruz Diadmas from La Quinta High School. And Lauren wrote a poem titled I See. Then we have Jackson Hendricks from Shadow Hills High School. And Jackson wrote a short story, boy, that Massachusetts came out that time. Jackson wrote a short story called Escaping Tetharus. Is that how you say it? Tetharus. Then we have another Shadow Hills High School, Maximus Rubalcava, who I believe is here. And he won second place for the short story, The Forest. Then I don't believe our Shadow Hills High School Joshua Alapisco is here, but he actually wrote song lyrics, an untitled song. Then I know that unfortunately Cynthia Ruiz from La Quinta High School couldn't be here, but she received third place for the poem Dinner Time. And then we have Ivana Rodriguez from Palm Desert High School, who received third place for her poem Growing Pains. And then finally we have Maximus Rubalcava. Amari, you said, I already did that one, didn't you? You get two, you know? So I'd like to have the principals stand up. So Debbie Dolan, David Dunn, Rudy Wilson, and Mary Velasco, Sarit Saig, and I believe, Sarit, you're accompanied by two people, Dr. Liub, is that correct? Okay, and Mr. Marin. So if you'd like to applaud the principals, I think that'd be great. Let me take a picture, my double D. All right, let's see if we can get everybody down here to look at me. Thank you, congratulations. And finally, I just want to make some presentations, and we're going to have some pictures here. It was thrilling to again see Mini Muster in action. It's been a couple of years since we haven't been able to hold Mini Muster, which is held at Palm Desert and Indian Wells schools. So it was very fun to be there. And I want to particularly thank CAL FIRE for helping us out, and most especially the Palm Desert Historical Society, who really is responsible for this program. So Mike Lewis, are you here? There he is. So Mike, along with his friends at Palm Desert Rotary and the Historical Society and CAL FIRE, they put these events where there's running hoses. The kids have to grab the hose and run. They have to crawl out of buildings. They wear the turnout gear. And then they participate in an art contest. So winners were recently recognized at Palm Desert City Council and at Indian Wells City Council. And their artwork can be found in firehouses throughout Palm Desert and Indian Wells. And before I introduce you to the students, I want you to know that we are working with CAL FIRE and the City of Indio and the City of La Quinta to grow the program farther down so that all of our elementary school third graders have a chance to participate. So from Washington Charter Elementary School, Charlie Marner, and there he is with his piece of art there. Is Charlie here? No? Isaiah Ramos from Reagan Elementary School. Eliza Castaneda from Lincoln Elementary. I know she's here, right? There she's going up. Jackson Towner from Carter Elementary School. Jackson, are you here? And finally, Christian Angulo from Ford Elementary School. All right, Eliza, it's just you and me. You ready?
Who's asked to come up?
Did I do that again? Why do I keep doing that, Craig? I don't know, Mr. Christian said to come up.
What did she say? That didn't offend any of the other male principals in the audience.
I know, right? But there is Mr. Williams. Thank you very much.
Oh, good job.
Thank you for your patience and thank you for celebrating with our students.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. Moving on to item 11, introduction of new or recently promoted employees. Superintendent Dr. May Vollmer.
Yes, I'll turn it over to Dr. Hyde.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So I'm very excited to introduce 3 new managers to our organization. And first, and maybe someone I'm actually very excited about because he works in my division, and that's Dr. Dan Borgen, our new Director of Personnel Leadership Development. Dan, please come up to the dais. I think we're good now, Dan. So Dr. Borgen earned his Bachelor of Fine Arts in Theater and his Bachelor of Science in Elementary Education from the University of North Dakota. He went on to earn his Master of Arts in Educational Administration from Cal State San Bernardino and his Doctorate of Education in Organizational Change and Leadership from the University of Southern California. He was an assistant principal with our district for 4 years before promoting to principal, where he spent 17 years leading elementary and middle schools. Dan values positive relationships he's built with students, parents, school members, and district staff. He's incredibly proud of the success in opening Desert Ridge Academy in 2009. He is equally proud of his part in leading the efforts to transform La Quinta Middle School from an enrollment of 420 students in 2015 to 770 students in 2022. Dan loves doing yard work. His wife hired someone to do their yard once, and he watched out the window, and as soon as the gentleman left, he redid the whole yard to his satisfaction. He would like to acknowledge his beautiful, supportive, and patient wife, Angela, who's also a district employee, his son, Dakota, a 2019 Shadow Hills High School graduate, and his daughter, Kylie, a 2022 La Quinta High School graduate. Welcome, Dan. Please introduce your guests and say a few words.
Thank you. First, thank you, Ashley, Board of Trustees, Superintendent, and Cabinet. I appreciate this opportunity to speak. My lovely wife, Angela, go ahead, stand up. My kids are in college, so they got other things going on, right? And I know that my parents are on YouTube right now, so I better give a shout out to my parents. There's so many other people that I think might be here for me. If they're not here for me, I think they are. So if you're out there and you're a supporter, a colleague, a friend, or you think you might know me, just go ahead and raise your hand. I recognize all of you and thank you for everything that you've done to support me. So I'll be brief. 17 years ago, I stood at this podium. Actually, it was different. Didn't have a computer on it, probably just a yellow pad of paper. But anyway, 17 years ago, and that was my first steps into Desert Sands Unified School District boardroom. And I can remember that day, how I felt so comforted and how Desert Sands was a family. And I remember being so excited, nervous, but ready and willing to do the job that the school board was asking me to do. And I have those exact same feelings right now, 17 years later. I've been working this job. I've been privileged to work this job for 1 week now, and there hasn't been a day of that week that I go home and say, whew, what am I doing? I just think that it is the perfect position for me. I had a superintendent tell me 20 years ago that it's always about the right person, the right place, at the right time. And I've lived with that. And when this opportunity came, it checked all of the boxes. It seemed like I was the right person. It seemed like it was the right time. And Desert Sands Unified School District is absolutely the right place for me. So I thank you all. And I just want to give one last word out to all the Desert Sands community. Please be kind to one another. We're all here for the same reason. Thank you all.
I'm also excited to introduce Linda Farias, educational psychologist. Linda, please step up to the dais. So Linda earned her educational specialist degree with a pupil personnel services credential and her master's degree from Brandman University. She's spent the last 11 years guiding and supporting Brandman University students with their educational goals and career paths. Her love for helping others, especially students, helped her to determine which career path she wanted to take. Working with kids is something she's always dreamed about. Linda loves to spend time with her 2 young sons and her other family. In her spare time, she loves to discover new hiking trails. She would like to acknowledge her family and her children because without them, she does not think she would have made it this far. She states that it truly does take a great amount of dedication, patience, and resilience to push yourself through raising 2 boys, working, studying, and everything else that comes with being a parent. She would also like to acknowledge that she's extremely proud of her entire family because together they have persevered and pushed through. Welcome to the district.
Thank you so much, everybody, for having me here. I'm extremely honored and excited to be part of Desert Sands Unified School District. Thank you, Charity, for the opportunity. And I'm speechless. I don't know what to say because I'm just honestly honored and excited. Thank you so much.
I'd also like to introduce Nancy Velador, Coordinator of Multilingual Learner Programs. Nancy, please come up to the dais. So Nancy earned her master's in educational leadership and is currently working on a doctorate in organizational leadership. She's been in public education for 26 years and has served as a teacher, teacher on special assignment, academic coach, site specialist, assistant principal, principal and coordinator of English language programs, family engagement, and professional development. Over the years, she has earned many commendations for establishing English learner programs and increasing parent involvement in districts. Nancy is an outdoor enthusiast. She loves learning to play, she is learning to play the ukulele, dances flamenco, and has lived in 4 countries. And by the age of 5, she spoke 4 languages. She would like to thank her son, parents, family, and friends for the support in all of her endeavors. She states that she is proud to be working with a phenomenal team in educational services. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you so much. Board members, a pleasure meeting you. Superintendent, congratulations on this new position. I believe you're going to do extraordinary things for our district, so thank you so much. Assistant superintendents, a pleasure. And our community, our parents, it's been such a pleasure working with our parents, our teachers, our students, and I'm extremely excited about the work that we're going to be doing. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any comments from the superintendent or board on community staff, student recognition, and new or recently promoted employees? Ms. Lopez, do you have a comment?
I would like to congratulate all the recently promoted employees.
Thank you. Ms. Pierce?
Yes, I'd like to tell how excited I am that our two schools, King High School and Washington Charter, were chosen by the public as Best of the Desert, and that 14 of our schools are on Common Sense list for being digitally careful on the computer. The Valley Sanitary District, that was a new one. I think they might be located out off Golf Center by the bird preserve, but I don't know if that's where that is. But I didn't ever know there could be field trips out there, but that would be interesting. And all the writers that were recognized tonight with the Coachella Valley Repertory Writing, that was wonderful to see. And the mini muster, I'm glad she's going to try and get that extended to other cities as well, so third graders, if that's the grade that does this, I always thought they did it with kindergarten too, but could also partake in that. And congratulations to Dan Borgen on his promotion. I know he's going to be very happy. And our new employees, Linda and Nancy as well. And I was able to work a little bit with Nancy at our LCAP, so I got to know her a little bit there. So congratulations.
Thank you. Ms. Porras?
I just want to say congratulations on your new positions. I think you're perfect for the position, and welcome. Well, you're already part of the family, so anyway, congratulations.
Dr. May Vollmer?
Yes, thank you. Definitely really encouraging tonight to see all of the students from across the district that were recognized. And as a former Chief Technology Officer, I have a very special place in my heart for Common Sense Media training and what it provides for our students, helping them to understand how to interact successfully in a digital world. So very excited to see so many of our schools receiving the recognition for the instruction that they provided to our students. And for our new and recently promoted employees, it's wonderful to have all three of you on board, already hearing exciting things. And to Dan and all your followers. Just kidding. Absolutely the right person at the right place at the right time, and we're very excited. So congratulations to everyone.
I do want to congratulate everybody. I just was thinking about that amazing motto. That it's just awesome. And I had never heard, I guess that is why it was a well-kept secret. I'd never heard that motto before. Congratulations to everybody for all the recognition. Amazing things are happening in Desert Sands, and congratulations to those who've been recently promoted. And we're moving, I can't get that out of my head. We're moving on to item 12, informational items. There are two informational items. Number one, Indio High School boys basketball team participation in the Mission Prep Christmas Classic Tournament in San Luis Obispo on December 16th through 21st. And Shadow Hills High School boys basketball team's participation in the Valley Christian School Tournament in Chandler, Arizona on November 25th through the 26th. I wish both of those teams good luck and safe travels. Item 13, staff conference items. Superintendent Dr. May Vollmer.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Mr. Jordan Aquino to introduce our speakers this evening.
Thank you. Good evening, Board, Superintendent. I'd first like to introduce Patrick. He's our Director of Facilities. He's been with the district for about 10 years and has been involved in both projects with Measure K and Measure KK. And he's going to give you an update on a lot of the bond projects that we've had going on over the last couple years, and also our facilities long-range master plan.
Good evening, Board, Superintendent, and Cabinet. Thank you for the opportunity to give an update tonight. We're going to be talking about a few things tonight here. Go over Measure KK, just a quick overview of the program and the timeline. Then we'll look at state funding for Measure KK projects, and then also start looking at the Phase 2 and Phase 3 progress, which is the work that is taking place right now or recently completed. Then we'll jump into the 2022 Facilities Master Plan, plus the financing plan as well. So just quick overview of Measure KK. In 2014, we presented to the board. Measure K was just about wrapped up, and we had presented to the board an updated master plan. At that time, we presented over $1 billion worth of facility needs in the district. The board approved $225 million, and that was presented to the voters and passed in November of 2014. Out of that was 11 major projects. The first series of bond projects was $75 million, which included Oliphant, Hoover, La Quinta, the large major projects. The next series was in 2019 through 2022, which was $100 million, and that went out to Madison, Kennedy, Indio, Lincoln, Ford, and Monroe. We're currently now in the final phase of Measure KK, which was the last $50 million, and that includes Carter and Truman, and those are the current projects that are going on right now. So now we're going to talk a little bit about state funding. So the state offers a school facilities program, which is the funding mechanism for school modernization and new construction projects. That program is a 60-40 match for modernization. 60% is the district and a 40% contributed from the state, and then for new construction, it's a 50-50. So far, out of the 11 projects, there is 10 of them qualified for state funding. And we did receive funds for Hoover Elementary already and La Quinta Middle School. But the state is out of bond funds. So we are on a list, we've got in line, and we've done everything that the district needs to do. So we're now in line and just awaiting for the other 8 projects, which is a total of, all combined, we're looking at about a $40 million worth of state matching funds that the district is in line for and ready to receive upon the issuance of new bonds at the state level. So we've done everything we needed to do so far. Now we'll just talk a little bit about the Measure KK projects, phases 2 and 3. So we completed Madison Elementary School, which was a new kindergarten, 2 new kindergarten buildings, and then a complete campus-wide modernization. We refaced that campus with new paint, added the 2 new kindergarten buildings in the footprint of the existing buildings. And there's just some images there that we have of the completed projects of the kindergarten and overall campus there. Part of phase 2 as well was Lincoln Elementary School. So that was the original campus that you see there. This was the transformation that was to take place. And the 3 black arrows are the only remaining existing, those were the only buildings to remain on campus. And all to the top right corner was all the new buildings coming off of Magnesia Falls now. There you can see construction progress as it was taking place, where we converted all the fields to where the new buildings are placed now, and then we would demolish the octagon-type shaped buildings there that were on campus. And here you can see that campus is operating, and it is now open since the whole school year. We are just currently completing now the field, so we have a few more weeks there, hopefully, and then we got to let the sod and everything kind of germinate out there. But we're wrapping up Lincoln Elementary School here this year, so we're excited about that. Moving on to Ford. Ford is also now completed since our last update. We added a new classroom building there at Ford to remove all the portables in the yellow. We also added 2 new kindergarten classrooms to support their kindergarten enrollment, along with a complete modernization of all the buildings on campus. So that is now complete. You can see the new classroom building, how that looks and how that took shape. And then there's the look off of the front of the campus. So you can see that that's all been repainted and refaced as well, along with the new administration building interior finishes. And then the right image is the location where all the portables were, which now is freed open space now for basketball courts and area for the children to play. Moving on to Truman, which is our current, which is currently under construction right now. And this is a campus-wide modernization. There used to be two campuses here at this school, so we are converting one of the administration buildings to a makerspace to support the program at that elementary school, and moving everything to where the black and yellow arrow is a new single point of entry for that campus. We will be modernizing all this campus. We have completed the first phase of classrooms, and we're currently in the second phase of classrooms right now, expecting to complete over the holiday break, Christmas break, the winter break. And there you can see some of the interior improvements that have been completed there at Truman Elementary School. Moving on to Carter, which is under construction right now. So you can see at Carter, our plan was to remove all the portables. The top building on the red, in the top corner, top left corner, is a new classroom building, similar to like we placed at Ford, removing all the portables at that campus. And we did relocate the administration building to the east parking lot, section of the east parking lot. So now there's a more defined single point of entry to that campus there. And there's just kind of a quick aerial image of how that would look. You can see the new entry point there with the smaller box on the left side of the screen. And there's the new building, how that's going to kind of take place, and look when we're all wrapped up with that new building. This project at Carter is expected to be wrapped up in 2024, summer of 2024. And there you can see the administration wing and four of the new classrooms in the first phase, four of the classrooms in the first phase that are wrapping up, and they will be occupying over the Thanksgiving break. So that's Measure KK's progress. And now we're going to talk a little bit about the master plan update and the financing plan. So we hired Runau Clark Architects to help us with to update our master plan, which is a long-range plan that for over the next 10 years takes in all the facility needs within our district. So we'll give you a little bit of an overview what a master plan does. So it creates the vision for facilities and education. It tells us really what types of projects we want. It's the roadmap to our desired facilities. And then it also helps us determine when to do the projects. It also provides for us the cost and finance strategies and really tells us basically how much funding we need to complete all of our projects over the next 10 years. Looking at the process and timeline for this master plan, all that went into the master plan. We hired our architects in August of 2021 and got right to work. So we went through data collection and site assessments, stakeholder engagement and educational vision meetings. Master plan scopes were developed and costs were then developed for each campus. We reviewed those at the February 15th board meeting when we provided an update to the board. And then we continued on with developing the implementation plan for the long-range master plan. And then we finalized that plan and we provided the board an update and got board input at the May 3rd facilities board study session. And today, we're just giving a brief summary of this master plan, and we're going to talk a little bit about the financing plan as well. So just to kind of go over what the long-range master plan includes, it really is an overview of the demographics, the enrollment, and capacities at our campus. We took a look at our long-range enrollment projections from one of our consultants, Cooperative Strategies, who has a history here. They look back 10 years and look forward 10 years. In doing that, it incorporates future capacity needs in three important areas: future enrollment, enrollment projections for both schools of attendance, and this is important, and schools of residence, both boundary, where a student should go to school per their boundaries, and then where they do attend schools per their school of attendance. We also looked at portables to be replaced with new construction where capacity is needed at those campuses. And then also if there was excess portables, we took a look at what to do with those and if those were going to remain at the campuses. And then we looked at universal TK, enrollment considerations for full implementation of that program by 2025, 2026. And we're also incorporating converting existing spaces into TK and kinder classrooms as well. So our capacity analysis gave us a snapshot of really what classrooms we have throughout the district, and then what classrooms are going to be needed through a 2031 projection of enrollment. So the dark green bar there is the existing classrooms at all of our campuses, and the light green bar is those classrooms that are going to be needed. Overall, we're needing classrooms in Richard Oliphant Elementary School, Ronald Reagan, Desert Ridge, Palm Desert High, and Shadow Hills High School. And all that's incorporated into our analysis in the long-range master plan. Now taking a look at the educational specifications that are incorporated into the master plan. This really helps communicate to future architects really what to design around and what a facility is supposed to look like based around the educational programs at each of the campuses. So based on grade levels, elementary schools, these are going to be, this is a design recommendation. So this kind of just lays out in a bubble format, really where to place a classroom, an administration building, the NPR rooms, libraries, and support the core academic programs at the elementary school level. Moving on to the middle school educational specifications, that just enhanced a little bit, laying out a little bit all the different areas, but it goes into now the gymnasiums, science curriculum, locker rooms, and art and maker spaces at our middle school levels. So this will, again, help the architects in the future know and understand what are the needs and what is the overall program for the district so they can start design. And then at the high school level, this continues the same methodology, laying out all the different facilities, adjacencies, and then incorporating also baseball, athletics, football, swim, all the different athletic programs at a high school level. So we also took a look at all the needs assessments across the district. So we went out to every site and performed condition assessments of the equipment on campus, of the age of the facilities, the exterior, interior. We met one-on-one with school principals. We had visioning exercises with cabinets, and we also had an online survey that was published, and we received over 1,200 community responses from that survey. And that's all incorporated into the master plan. So some of the master plan elements that we have tonight. Incorporated into the master plan are shade structures throughout the district at each site, innovation labs, converting some of the older computer labs to support science, technology, and engineering programs, maker spaces, gymnasiums at the middle school level, converting some of those pavilions we have into enclosed now gymnasiums, and then adding gymnasiums to where we don't have them at the middle school level. And then for those sites that are eligible, wherever there's Southern California Edison, right now that's where we are able to look at maximizing the opportunity to put in solar panels at those locations. So an elementary school site master plan. So this is the overall master plan, everything that needs that were heard through one-on-one meetings, through meetings with cabinet, through meetings with staff, meeting with the principals, and also taking in all the survey information as well. So broken down at each site is three components: new construction in the red, modernization in the blue, and then major reconfiguration in the yellow. So at Van Buren Elementary School here, all of the needs at that campus overall would cost about $26.4 million, and that's in costs estimated at 2024, the year 2024. Looking at a middle school, we have Desert Ridge Academy here. Again, same thing with the new construction, modernization, and the major reconfiguration. Doing all the work on this campus would cost about $23.1 million at Desert Ridge Academy. And then for a high school, you have same thing. We have La Quinta High School here, which is eligible for state funding and that state match. Never been modernized and is at the age of 25 years or older. And here we're looking at about $109 million worth of a lot of modernization, some reconfiguration of the Performing Arts Center, and some of the interior classroom spaces as well. So how is the cost broken out by priorities? So we broke those up into 4 different priorities, and we're able to list those by priority 1, 2, 3, and 4. The $1.1 billion of costs across the district, we're able to kind of break those down and allocate different costs based on priority to each school site. And we'll take a look at that. So overall, we're looking at about a $1.1 billion at 2024 cost. What is priority 1? That's the must-do projects at the campuses. Critical system replacement and components like code compliance. If we're going to touch that site, these are the have-to-do. Priority 2 is just the life cycle repairs, maintenance, equipment, HVAC. And then priority 3 is those long-term projects that enhance the educational program. Priority 4 then goes on to additional site improvements and considerations that were listed based on feedback we received. So we took those priorities and then grouped them in by what we would recommend as a group of projects. The group A is all the projects that are going to be soon up for modernization as far as the age 25 years or older and eligible for state funding. And then group B is just kind of the next in line. And then group C and group D are kind of just in that same order. Group D, as you can see, are some of the projects from Measure KK that have been completed. So you kind of see the progression. Overall, you see there, out of all the groupings, still totals of $1.13 billion. If we just take that, Group A, B, and C, and D, put them all together, and that's the overall need here for the overall long-range facilities master plan. We also have escalated those costs over to the far right through 2030, and you can see what that results as about a $1.5 billion worth of costs. So I'll now turn this back over to Mr. Aquino.
So as you can see, as Patrick was mentioning all the different needs in the district, at the end of the day, the state doesn't provide us with funding for that. So with our previous measure, Measure KK, we've done about 11 schools and done a pretty good job modernizing our facilities. And so I have here our financial consultant for public financing. We use Adam Bauer. He's from Fieldman Rollup and Associates, and he helps us take a look at the current market and what we can do, or what are our options from a finance perspective. Adam.
Great, and thank you for your time. And once again, my name is Adam Bauer. Our firm serves as your municipal advisor. And what we've done today is try to take into consideration some of those needs that you have, but we also, before we do that, we also give you some perspective on what you've done in the past. And to make it really short, you've done a really good job of, one, not asking your community of too much, but two, of also getting the lowest cost of borrowing possible for your taxpayers, but also taking opportunities to refinance that along the way. The district was even working on doing one of those earlier today, or I'm sorry, earlier this year, and the market moved away from us. So we just paused. We'll come back and get that one later. But that was just another proactive move by district staff and the board to look at things. So now that I gave a bit of a preamble, let's get into the heart of the presentation. On our first section, we highlight the district's historical assessed value. Assessed value is important. It is all the residential and commercial property within your district boundaries. And it's the value based on the base year. So you can only go up by 2% or CPI. So oftentimes assessed value is a lot lower than actual value within your district boundaries, especially in an area like this where people tend to stay. So what we have here is, if you look at that bottom table, it shows growth patterns. Your 5 years at 4.65 and your 30 years at 5.46. That's a very consistent growth pattern along the way. And let's go back to like 2010 through 2013. It felt bad here. But it was not nearly as bad as far as assessed value goes as a lot of your peer districts. A lot of your peer districts saw double-digit declines in those years. So this is a positive. Your tax base is so stable. It helps get us a lower borrowing rate when we look to sell your bonds. Down here to the far right, I have this table, and it's highlighting your statutory bonding capacity. Every district has a statutory bonding capacity, but it can only be accessed if you get voter approval. And that number down there to the far right, the 836 million, that's how much you have left to access. Your outstanding par amount is much smaller than that. It's actually very common for this outstanding par amount to be close to or greater than the remaining statutory bonding capacity. What this is telling me is you have not asked of your community as much as many other districts have asked of theirs. So another positive, and as far as investors are concerned, you would be considered a lower debt profile than a lot of other communities. That's positive. So this chart here illustrates all your financings that you have outstanding. And if you look to the right there, that's when we can, the call date, that's when we can refinance it. Investors are protected until those dates. But there's some circumstances where you can do a little bit sooner, but in most cases you can't. But now the interest rates have risen, those first two do not work, but as provide taxpayer savings. But as rates get lower in a few years or so, those will really likely be refunding candidates. And then down below, you have certificates of participation that a good portion of your successor agency revenue is used to repay those. But those are also something that we monitor on your behalf. So this chart takes, this graph takes that chart and shows what your taxpayers were paying. So we have an election of 2001 and 2014 projected tax rates. Before I get too into this chart, one thing I want to make sure everyone understands is a lot of districts don't try to combine tax rates. You just say, I'm a unified district, I'm going to take 60, and I'm going to add 60 on top of that. The two act independently. So the fact that you've done this is relatively unique, but a very good thing for your taxpayers. But it's limited the amount of money you've had for projects by doing this. And so what this red line represents is that's as long, so each bond measure gets that $60 per 1,000. What the red line represents is the tax rate that you have available to you, but what we show here is one of the measures fades away over time. And as that fades away over time, you drop down to that $60 tax rate when you just have one bond measure outstanding. And so these are your two measures, the 2001, 2014. The 2014 passed with a 69.5% passage rate. That's very high. There's some that get in the 70s. Very few actually get to the 69 that you've talked about. One of the things that your community probably is very supportive of was that we looked at a $97.50 tax rate for both measures. So oftentimes that would be 120, and it'd be 120 for the whole term. Whereas here you have 97.50, and then it drops down 2028, like you can see. And then the district staff has already walked through those last three items of when you've received funding. So now the first thing we looked at was, what if we looked at a new measure that focused on, a new measure meaning you asked voters to consider another GEO-bond measure. And we would look at that in 2024. You can't go in 2023. You can go March of 24 or November of 24. And so what we've done here is said, let's just assume we stuck the tax rate at $75 per 1,000, so that essentially taxpayers would not be seeing an increase from what they're paying now. And then you show that and then you drop off at 1 down in 2045. But this type of measure would generate about $671 million for projects selling bonds between 2025 and 2032. I want to pause here for a moment. Every district I work with, I show a phasing of bond issuances. And now I know you have two measures, so you probably know this. But the majority of school boards come back to me and say, why aren't we getting all the money at once? And the reason we're not getting all the money at once is we want to phase those bond proceeds in. When we sell tax-exempt bonds, which get you lower rates, we need to reasonably expect to spend the majority of the money within 3 years. And we have to project assessed value growth. You saw those years of declines. We don't know when those are going to happen. Sometimes we can see them coming to some degree, but we want to be able to recalibrate this every few years. If you tried to sell all your bonds at once and then you had a recession the next year, you could be over your tax rate for the entire length of that bond program. So by doing it in phases, we're able to recalibrate and make adjustments. So for example, if AV declined, we would adjust that next series to make sure that we were within that tax rate. And that's what this chart tries to show, is every 3 or 4 years, we sell a new series of bonds until we get to that last one. Then I'm going to go through the rest of these very quickly. These are all just a lot of other scenarios with different tax rates. If we just did a $20 tax rate but ignored the previous authorizations, you can get about 278. Now I'm going to fast forward a few because we did a lot of different tax rates. But there's a summary chart at the end. So the summary chart says, kind of at the very beginning, the first one I showed you, no tax rate increase, $671 million in projects. We did anywhere from 20 to 60. So 20 is probably the lowest that would be worth your time to even consider. And then 60 is the maximum you're allowed to go at. So that kind of gives you the bookends of what you could consider. We'll update this as the year goes by and as we get new assessed value, but this is where things stand today. So I know I've covered a lot. I'm available for any questions and also can get into a schedule. But before I get into a schedule, maybe I should pause for some questions.
Lopez, do you have any questions? Ms. Pierce?
Well, my initial thing would be to say it'd be great to follow the course of not affecting the amount of money that the taxpayers are paying by doing scenario number one in your summary. That would be the easiest to sell as a bond and get the money up front. So I'm just taking it all in, literally, because this is so much information.
Yeah.
But that's what I would hope that we could do, so we could get started on some of our projects sooner rather than later.
But let me take some of the pressure off here. You would not be asked to make a decision like this evening.
No, I know.
You don't even have the data to make that decision. We would need an independent survey consultant to reach out to your community and figure out what they want. And then from there, you'd be able to look up and make some decisions, or at least start a guidance on which direction you want to go.
Yes.
Porras?
I just have a question about the projects that qualify for the state funding. And so my first question was, well, does it cover everything? But obviously not, doesn't. But what percentage of does the state funding cover? Do you know what I mean? Is there a certain percentage that they're a maximum? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 60-40 is for modernization.
Oh, okay.
The district share is 60 and 40% is the state.
Okay.
For new construction, when we do qualify for new construction, it's a 50-50 match.
Oh, okay. All right, thanks.
I have no questions.
Patrick, that's when you add a new building, say you have a footprint of a school, and I noticed some of those, say, Shadow Hills and Reagan needing so much more enrollment, and the area that Reagan takes up is a small land area. Do you then consider like two-story buildings and things like that to get enough classrooms to go like they did at Washington Charter and Quinta High, so forth?
Yeah, we would then explore the opportunities, but we also then got to look at the environmental impact. And there's a lot of different scenarios, but we would definitely explore changing out portables to new construction.
And that new construction on a current site would count for the reimbursement at the 60-40?
50-50 new construction.
Oh, 50-50, I mean, yes, okay.
Yes.
The modernization is
That's
60-40, okay, that's right.
Yes.
Superintendent Maybomer, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but thank you very much, both of you, for your presentations.
So before I wrap up, though, want to hit on a schedule, is the Proposition 39 GeoBond measure, which are the ones that require 55% voter approval, require that you go on either a countywide election, which are usually when primary and general elections are now, they've been consolidated, or a primary or general election. Those opportunities are in March of 2024 and November of 2024. What we think a lot of districts should do is begin preparing in January of 23. And that leaves some options for you. If everything's going smoothly, you can be ready and get on that March of 24 election and maybe get ahead of some of the noise. If it's not the right time, you can always slow down and come back for that November of 24 measure. So this is a schedule that we've laid out here. This would need to be customized for the district and this is a living document, but our recommendation is to consider a schedule like this if you're interested in being on a 24 ballot.
Yes, thank you, Adam. And part of the reason why we're having this presentation today is because we're getting to the tail end of Measure KK, and we want to upfront the board with this information. So there's a lot of planning that is involved in a measure like this or in an effort like this. So we want to get out in front and give you guys as much information as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Moving on to item 14, public hearing. There are none. Item 15, board and superintendent comments. Ms. Lopez, do you have any comments?
I have no comments.
Okay. Ms. Pierce?
Comment at this time.
Porras?
I just want to welcome Ashley to the dais, and anyway, it's great to have you here. And I just wanted to say that on November 9th, I attended the Avid Showcase at Dr. Carrion, which was amazing. Khaleesi, I think that's how you pronounce her name, Khaleesi was our little ambassador that guided us, and she did a great job of showing us around each classroom and kept us on schedule. and she answered all our questions that we had. And we visited Marissa Logan's first grade class, and I was so impressed with her positive energy and engagement with the kids. And I mean, I would have loved to have her for a first grade teacher. You know, when I was in when I was a little kid, it's like you walk into these classrooms, it's nothing like it was when I grew up. You know, you sat in your desk and you listened to the teacher and that's it, you know. You walk into these classrooms and these kids are running around and walking around and talking, engaging, and it's just so refreshing. I just loved it. Anyway, I know that we've had presentations on AVID, but when you actually go into the classroom and you see what these kids and these teachers are doing, it's just, man, it just brings tears to your eyes. It's just amazing. So it was wonderful to be able to see that. And we also visited Mrs. Zamora's second grade class. She's an awesome teacher. I've known her for several years. She's been the teacher of my two great nieces, and she's a really great teacher. And also Mrs. Martinez's fourth and fifth grade class. Anyway, and President Conover and I visited Reagan Elementary, and we celebrated the heroes and veterans. And it was so neat to have our veterans be up there and they introduced who their children were or who they were representing. So that was really, which was also our Air Force, Mrs. Conover. So anyway, and let's see. And then we also helped out with the Heroes Luncheon at La Quinta High School. Awesome food, gosh. I mean, La Quinta Culinary just does an outstanding job of cooking, and it was like the best apple pie I've ever had in my life. It was like so good. And anyway, and then we also visited Kennedy Elementary, and we took a tour of Kennedy with Allison Sear, and we talked with the special ed teachers, and it was really great to be with her. And we visited Miss Axiom's kindergarten class. Anyway, kindergartners are so cute to watch the little kindergartners. I love to go to those classrooms. And then today, I attended the evaluation celebration at Amelia Earhart. And we went on a tour of 10 classrooms where we saw how the IB is implemented. And it was just great to see that same thing to, you know, have a presentation, but when you actually go and see it, it's just so different. You know, to really see the culture and see how it's just implemented throughout the whole school. So that was wonderful. So anyway, thanks Ann Morales for our tour. So anyway, that's it. Thanks.
Dr. May Bulmer.
Yes, thank you. It really was pretty special today at Earhart. I have to give a special shout out to Laura Lee Stolzoff. We were in her classroom, and the principal from Franklin, which is also an IB school, Mr. Grass, was with me, and we literally both just had goosebumps. It was amazing going from room to room, and in every single classroom, the students were working much harder than the teacher was, which was amazing to see. Just all the inquiry going on, the questioning, the deep thinking. It was really something very, very special. And I also wanted to just personally thank President Conover for her service. Very, very grateful for her and for all of our district employees that are veterans. We appreciate so much your service, not only to our district, but to our country. We're also approaching very quickly the Thanksgiving break. And so I shared in a video with all of staff last week. I know we all celebrate all the winter holidays in different ways, which is really wonderful and special. But as we have a break off of school, at least, I know some of us are still working, I really do just hope that it's a wonderful time for people to get refreshed and relax and just know that I know the board and myself are so thankful for all the work that all of our staff does across the district, really ensuring that our students have the best possible opportunities. So I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you. And then tonight is very special and very bittersweet for us. Tonight is President Conover's last full meeting on the dais as she will be ending out her term and will be turning over a new board at our next meeting in December. And so we just wanted to take a moment. We have a special presentation for you, but also wanted to just say a few words. I am personally so thankful. I'm going to get emotional. I'm not going to look at you. For the past few months, being able to work very closely with you, it's made all the difference in the world to me and has been very, very special. I have not only watched you from this seat, but from this seat for several years through incredibly, incredibly difficult times. And I am so grateful that we have had you as a board member. You are wise, you are kind, you absolutely care about what's best for students and put them first in every decision that you make. You are a strong, strong leader. And we are very, very fortunate to have had you as part of this board, and you have definitely made Desert Sands a better place. And I'm very thankful for you. And I do think that Cabinet wants to say a couple things, and then your fellow board members want to say some words as well. So, Dr. Wood.
All right. Well, Anna Conover, so we have all come up with one word each that describes you.
I only gave them one word.
And they're nice words. They're very nice words. My word is responsive. And as I think of your leadership over this period of time, during the pandemic, the difficulties, and just how responsive your leadership was in terms of the health, the safety of our staff and our students, and then in terms of just overall responsiveness to the educational, social, emotional needs of our kids in Desert Sands was second to none. So thank you.
Yes, I want to echo that. Thank you. I mean, there's so many words that we could think of. You're definitely a very strong leader, but the one that kind of resonates with me is just, because I think you make very sound decisions. You're very fair. You look at all the angles, and you're always doing what's best for students. And that showed very true through the course of the pandemic and everything that we've done. So thank you.
And certainly, I don't think anyone could review your life and not say that you have led a life dedicated to service. First, service to your country as a U.S. Air Force veteran. I think second, as a service to children as a teacher and educator. And I think third, again, to children in your community as a Board of Trustee member and now president. And I think ultimately, soon you'll be transitioning to another service and service directly to your family as you move back to Wisconsin and spend time with your children and grandson. So congratulations, and thank you for making a difference.
I want to say how much I've enjoyed getting to know Anna these past couple years that I've been on the board, and I value her input, and she always comes up, I think I've asked questions, but she always comes up with deeper questions and another angle to really look at it that maybe I didn't think of. And so I valued that other perspective, and her also coming from the background of an organization such as the military, so she's able to look at different aspects, but also from her teacher experience and even her current experience still teaching, that she brings up topics that are really helpful, and she's always got the kids and the teachers and the staff in mind, because that's where this is all happening, in the classroom. And so her focus has always been there, and I want to thank her for her time here.
Okay, my turn. So 4 years ago, I did not know who Anna Conover was. She was running for the board, and I was like, who in the heck is Anna Margaret? And anyway, and it changed my life when you got on the board. And okay, I can't do it. So anyway, you bring so much passion and honesty, and you care about the kids and staff. And anyway, I feel so blessed to call you my friend now. You are my friend. And I'm going to miss you terribly. This is bittersweet, but I'm so excited for you to, spend time with Libby and be there for her and for your kids and family. Because that's what I know about you also, is family is number one with you. Your family is the most important. And anyway, I'm just thankful to know you, and I know that you'll be my friend forever. And congratulations, and I'll miss you. But I'm not going to miss you because we're still going to see each other. So, But anyway, thank you so much for your service in the Air Force and for service here on the board. And you have changed change things here at the Desert Sands. So, thank you.
So on behalf of the board, it's my pleasure to present you with this gavel that you cannot pound because it's glued onto the plaque. No prying it off. It says, presented to Anna Margarita Conover, in appreciation for your year of dedicated service as the president of the Board of Education for Desert Sands Unified School District 2022 Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. As we're all crying, sniffling. Come on up.
You want all of us? You want all of us together?
Yes, come on, please. Thank you.
I am going to reserve my comments to the very end. To the very, very end. So we're going to move on because this was quite a bit. All right, we're moving on to item 16, public comment on open session. I do have one online comment, but that person is here. Ms. Yesenia Perez, are you still here? Would you like us to read your comment, or would you like to speak? You can only get one, so. You'd like us to read your comment? I'm going to turn it over to Trustee Porras.
Okay, Yesenia Perez. Good afternoon. My name is Yesenia Perez, and my son formerly attended Palm Desert Charter Middle School as an 8th grader. On October 26th, my son was wrongfully accused, and although the witnesses stated the same as my son, the assistant principal still went ahead and made his own very extreme report by what the supposed victim stated. My son has had to seek therapy for this and was also asked to switch schools, although he was just suspended and has been going there, but this supposed victim gets to stay there while threatening other kids if they would like problems too. Nothing seems to be getting taken care of at this school, no matter how much it is brought to their attention. The witnesses were also questioned by a non-RSO officer without consent or letting the parents know. These witnesses and my son seem to have been discriminated against, for they are of color, and the supposed victim is white, and the one other kid that said some harsh words, who in my opinion should have been reprimanded, saw no repercussions whatsoever, but mine was suspended and had to change schools. Please look over these issues and address them accordingly. Thank you.
That was our only comment to be read online. Moving on to communications from the floor. In accordance with bylaws of the board 9323, time is reserved for oral communications by members of the Board of Education or by citizens present. Citizens wishing to be heard on agenda items, regular or special meetings, and/or non-agenda items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board, regular meetings only, shall have a 3-minute limit. In accordance with the law, the board cannot take action on any item not appearing on the agenda as indicated in bylaws of the board 9323.2. I have one blue sheet. It is Kyra McDavis.
Good evening, Honorable Board, Cabinet, and staff. My name is Kyra McDavis, and my son is an 8th grader at Palm Desert Charter Middle School. I come before you with some concerns of an incident that occurred during school hours and how it was executed. On Tuesday, October 25th, my son was named as an alleged witness to an incident on PDC-MS campus. My 13-year-old son and 2 other students had already been interviewed by staff on 2 separate occasions prior to law enforcement's arrival. The school allowed a patrol officer to conduct an interview without my consent or acknowledgement. This was a regular patrol officer and not an SRO staff. Staff made my son feel like the interview was involuntary and criminalized my son by allowing this officer to conduct the interview alone, without staff present, which is extremely intimidating for a child or anyone, in which my son was extremely uncomfortable and scared and sent back to class with his emotions running high. After the interview was conducted, school personnel, nor staff, nor law enforcement never contacted me. Not until I emailed the superintendent of DSUSD to ask about the incident did I get a brief call from the vice principal of the school the following day, Wednesday, October 26th. To eliminate future situations such as these, I beg the board to revisit their bylaws and consider the following. Bylaw BP 5145.11, questioning and apprehension by law enforcement. I ask you guys to consider this. Except in the case of a child abuse, neglect, and imminent danger or immediate threat, the interview will not be conducted during instructional time because my child's instruction was interrupted twice. The principal or a designee with specific training in the rights of students during law enforcement interviews shall be present during the student's interview because my child was left alone in the room with law enforcement, a regular patrol officer. Students interviewed by law enforcement on school premises shall be referred for counseling or intervention services on the same day to address any specific needs identified through the interview process. The school calls me when my son is tardy. The school calls me when my son is truant. The school even called me when my son hurt his toe before. But I didn't get any call from the school when my son was interviewed by law enforcement. There's a Berkeley study of sociology students who did a study where they found that students of color felt less safe in the presence of police. So I asked the school board to please consider some diversity training, some culturally diverse training for staff. If anyone has seen the movie Ava DuVernay, When They See Us, or the Central Park 5, that's what I relived last month with my son being interviewed. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item 17, general functions, business services. Item 17.1 is a resolution number 19/2022-2023, declaring the futility of public bidding for changes in the miscellaneous/finishes work and approving change order number 9 for the 224/01F Lincoln Elementary School Modernization Project. Is there a motion to approve to adopt resolution number 19/2022-2023?
Make a motion, Tricia Pierce.
Is there a second? No.
Second, Linda Porras. Sorry.
It has been moved and seconded to approve to adopt resolution number 19/2022-2023. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, as this is a resolution, it calls for a roll call vote. Ms. Lopez? The resolutions they can vote. Preferential vote? Okay. Ms. Pierce?
Aye.
Ms. Porras?
Aye.
And I vote aye. This motion carries 3-0. Moving on to resolution number 20/2022-2023, declaring the futility of public bidding for changes in the lath plaster drywall work and approving change order number 10 for the 224/01F Lincoln Elementary School Modernization Project. Is there a motion to approve to adopt resolution number 20/2023-2022-2023?
Second, Tricia Pierce.
Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, as this is a resolution, it calls for roll call vote. Ms. Pierce?
Aye.
Ms. Porras?
Aye.
And I vote aye. This motion carries. As item 17.3 was removed, we're moving on to item 17.4, change order number 8 for the 224/01F Lincoln Elementary School Modernization Project. What's that? Oh, let me go ahead and ask for the motion first. Is there a motion to approve this change order number 8? Is there a second?
Second, Tricia Pierce.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to accept this change order. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, calls for the question. Preferential vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? This motion carries with one preferential vote. Moving on to item 18, general functions, educational services. Item 18.1, amend the resolution number 06/2023-2023. 2022 you guys like threw me off today. Certify independent study curriculum. Is there a motion to approve to amend resolution number 06/2022-2023?
So moved, Tricia Pierce.
Is there a second? Okay. It has been moved and seconded to approve to amend this resolution. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, as this is a resolution, it calls for a roll call vote. Ms. Pierce?
Aye.
Ms. Porras?
Aye.
And I vote aye. This motion carries. Okay, there are 4 more items in general functions educational services. Is there a motion to take items 18.2 through 18.5 as a group or individually? Okay. Thank you. Is there a second? It has been moved and seconded to take items 18.2 through 18.5 as a group. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, calls for the question. Preferential vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? This motion carries with one preferential vote. Item 19, general functions, personnel services. There are 10 items in item 19, general functions, personnel services. As these items deal with personnel, our student board member will not be voting. Is there a motion to take items 19.1 through 19.10 as a group or individually? Is there a second?
Second, Tricia Pierce.
It has been moved and seconded to take items 19.1 through 19.10 as a group. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, calls for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? This motion carries. Moving on to item 20, general functions, student support services. There are none. Item 21, general functions, superintendent. Item 21.1, annual organization meeting of the Board of Education. Is there a motion to approve Tuesday, December 13th, 2022 at 7 p.m. at the District Education Center Boardroom as the day, time, and location of the annual organizational meeting of the Board of Education? Is there a second?
Second, Tricia Pierce.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, calls for the question. Preferential vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? This motion carries with one preferential vote. Item 22, consent item, student matters. Superintendent Dr. May Vollmer.
Yes, thank you. There are 6 items this evening. Tonight in closed session, the board took action to approve the following student matters. Stipulated expulsion case number 22/23-19 on a motion made by Linda Porras and seconded by Patricia Pierce. It was carried 3-0 for the board to accept the recommendation of the stipulated expulsion order. Stipulated expulsion case number 22/23-20 on a motion made by Linda Porras and a second by Patricia Pierce. It carried 3-0 for the board to accept the recommendation of the stipulated expulsion order. Stipulated expulsion case number 22/23-21 on a motion made by Linda Porras and seconded by Patricia Pierce. It carried 3-0 with the board accepting the recommendation of the stipulated expulsion order. Stipulated expulsion case number 22/23-23 on a motion made by Linda Porras and seconded by Patricia Pierce. It carried 3-0 with the board accepting the recommendation of the stipulated expulsion order. On expulsion case number 22/23-14 on a motion made by Linda Porras and seconded by Patricia Pierce, it carried 3-0 with the board accepting the recommendation from the hearing panel. And on expulsion case number 22/23-15 on a motion made by Linda Porras, seconded by Patricia Pierce, carrying 3-0, the board accepted the recommendation from the hearing panel. And that's all.
Thank you. Moving on to item 23, consent item business services. There are 9 items in consent items business services. Is there a motion to take items 23.1 through 23.9 as a group or individually?
I make a motion to take 23.1 to 23.9 as a group.
Is there a
Tricia
second?
Pierce.
Is there a second? Okay.
Ashley Lopez.
It has been moved and seconded to take these items as a group. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, calls for the question. Preferential vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? This motion carries. And we're moving on to item 24, consent items, educational services. Okay. There are 21 items in consent items, educational services. Is there a motion to take items 24.1 through 24.21 as a group or individually?
I make a motion to take 24.1 to 24.21 as a group.
Is there a second?
Second, Linda Porras.
It has been moved and seconded to take these items as a group. Is there any discussion?
I'm just, besides getting some speech help and different theater opportunities with the McCallum again, I'm happy to see so many extended learning opportunity programs come to our schools and signing up new vendors and new providers all the time. The difference that's making for the kids in elementary and middle school is just amazing, and it's enriching their lives so much. I'm so happy for that.
Are there any more comments? Hearing none, calls for the question. Preferential vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? This motion carries with one preferential vote. Moving on to item 25, consent items, personnel services. There are none. Moving on to 26, consent items, student support services. There are 5 items in consent items, student support services. Is there a motion to take items 26.1 to through 26.5 as a group or individually? Thank you. Is there a second? It has been moved and seconded to take these items as a group. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, calls for the question. Preferential vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? This motion carries with one preferential vote. Moving on to item 27, consent item, superintendent. There are none. Item 28, personnel action certificated. Dr. Hyde, do you have any items?
I do have a couple of items. I am excited to announce within our certificated personnel actions 28.1, agenda items number 11 and 12 on page 2. Pleased to recommend the appointment of Michelle Spencer to the position of psychologist. And also very excited to announce the appointment recommendation of Dr. LaTanya Strange to the position of Coordinator of Equity, Diversity, Parent, and Family Engagement.
Thank you. And I'm going to take these individually. Item 28.1, certificated personnel. As this item deals with personnel, our student board member will not be voting. Is there a motion to approve item 28.1 as listed? Is there a second?
Second, Tricia Pierce.
Is there any discussion? Any retirements? Any?
Yes, I'm excited to announce that we actually have 2 retirements in our certificated agenda. The first is Penny Cohey from currently at Eisenhower Education Center. She's retiring after 16 years of service. And Michelle Harrell from Horizon, who is retiring after 32 years of service. So 48 years of combined service to the district from these 2 employees. So definitely worth recognizing.
That is amazing. Is there any other comments or discussions?
I just want to say congratulations to Dr. Strange. That's a perfect position for her. It's awesome.
Okay. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. 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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? This motion carries. Moving on to 28.2, compensation for administrative cabinet employees, superintendent, and assistant superintendents. As this item deals with personnel, our student board member will not be voting. Is there a motion to approve item 28.2? Is there a second?
Second, Tricia Pierce.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? This motion carries. Moving on to item 29, personnel actions classified. Dr. Hyde, do you have any items? None? Not a single one. Okay. None? Okay. Yes.
Lots of movement, though, and moving
Yes.
around.
All right, 29.1, classified personnel. As this item deals with personnel, our student board member will not be voting. Is there a motion to approve item 29.1 as listed? Is there a second?
Second, Tricia Pierce.
Is there any discussion? Well, no retirement, so that's okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? This motion carries. Moving on to item 29.2, compensation for the Assistant Superintendent of Business Services. As this item deals with personnel, our student board member will not be voting. Is there a motion to approve item 29.2? Is there a second?
Second, Tricia Pierce.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? This motion carries. Moving on to item 30, call out of closed session action. Superintendent Dr. May Vollmer.
Yes, listed under closed session 3.4 tonight. In closed session, the board took action to approve General Release and Settlement Agreement SSS number 11/2022-2023 on a motion made by Linda Porras and seconded by Patricia Pierce. The motion carried 3-0.
Thank you. Item 31, suggestions for future agendas that receive at least 3 votes. Ms. Lopez, do you have any suggestions for future agenda items? Thank you. Ms. Pierce?
No suggestions.
Ms. Porras?
I don't know if this would be a suggestion, but as pertaining to if a parent is called for a child to be questioned by any kind of law enforcement, that needs to be looked into. I think that definitely, I would be very upset if my child was, talked to without me being present or not the knowledge of it. So whatever we need to do. So, all right, thanks.
All right, I have none. And moving on to item 32, announcements. The next regularly scheduled meeting and the annual organizational meeting of the Board of Education is December 13th, 2022 in the District Education Center Boardroom, 47950 Dune Palms Road in La Quinta, California. And now my comments. I had to organize myself. I know, I'm not even looking at anybody. So, Ms. Porras was correct. 4 years ago, it seems I came out of nowhere. Nobody expected me. But my time as a Desert Sands board member is just about over. Today is my last full meeting. And I want to take this moment to recognize those that have helped me during my tenure. First of all, to the students and families of Desert Sands. You are the reason I decided to run for office. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to serve my community. To the approximately 3,000 employees, I had to double check that amount, To the approximate 3,000 employees that make up the Desert Sands family, thank you for everything, from keeping me safe to holding me accountable. You are the reason this district is as amazing as it is, and we hear it all the time. There are great things going on in this district. To Blanche, Adriana, and Jan, ladies, you made my life so much easier and my Tuesdays that much nicer. Blanche, yours was the first voice that reached out to me. This is gonna be tough. At the beginning of this journey. And I can't tell you how much it meant that you and Victor welcomed me with open arms. Thank you. Whew. And to Mary, where is Mary? She left? I know, a lot of us are not feeling well. But Mary lent me her words when I needed them the most. And I certainly needed them quite often. I thought about calling her about tonight's little thing, and I thought, no, I got to do it on my own. So to Kelly, Jordan, Joe, Laura, and Marcus, you helped me wade through the bureaucracy that is required to run a successful district. And there's a lot of it. You kept us going through the pandemic, all the while making sure we didn't flounder and that all of our responsibilities were met, even making sure we didn't bounce any checks. I'm not sure where we would be without all of you. To Scott, you helped shape me into the board member that I am today, and for that I am extremely grateful. To Linda, Tricia, Wendy Jonathan, Don Griffith, and Gary Tomac. It has been a privilege to share this incredible responsibility with all of you. Thank you for the advice and guidance you graciously offered me throughout the years. I did learn something from each and every one of you. And to the new trustees that are coming on board, even though, of course, the election has not been certified. I applaud you for taking on this civic responsibility. There will be days when being a trustee will feel like a thankless task, but I encourage you to stay the course. It is so worth it. And of course, my family. I want to thank my family for being my support system. From the moment I said, I think I want to run for board, they're like, okay. All right, well, we will be there. And they were. And they were. Countless hours that I spent away from home, and they were there as my support system. And I wish every one of you all the best. And moving on to item 33. Reconvene to closed session if needed. We do not need a reconvene to closed session. Item 34, adjournment. This meeting is adjourned at 8:49 p.m. Thank you.